Hey, Teddy K here for Best Buy Plugin, and in this video review, take a look at the Epson EcoTank ET-3710 all-in-one printer. An interesting option for anyone who's looking for something for the home or home office. Ever since Epson launched the EcoTank printers, the whole idea has been to not buy ink all the time for replacements. And so instead of using cartridges, they used actual ink in tanks. And, you know, when they first launched them, it was a bit of a messier process in terms of putting the ink in the tanks, and the print quality may not have been as good as it is now. So it's been a while, it's been a few years, and now that we have newer models, including the 3710 here, this is a printer that to me speaks volumes, and I mean that literally. If you're looking for a volume printer, this is it. This is not necessarily the printer you're going to want for photos. I'll get to that in a second, but especially if you're, there's a lot of documents, you work in a field that requires a lot of printing, and you don't want to have the anxiety over whether the ink is going to last, this is probably one of your best bets. I say that because there's a lot of good things that are in this printer, and of course it is an all-in-one, so you do get the scanner and copier, as you would expect, I think, for something of this caliber and price point. But it goes beyond that. I mean, I think just the fact that each each tank is, according to Epson, the equivalent of 80 ink cartridges. So imagine that. I can't quantify how true that is, but needless to say, they're saying that you could probably use this for up to 2 years before you run out of ink. How much you're printing, that all depends. I mean, there's a lot of variables in that, but Epson's trying to quantify the value here by using both the number of pages. I mean, for black and white, you're looking at 7,500 pages, or 2 years, I guess, whichever comes first. Either way, for me, the benefit here is that a lot of Epson's heritage, recent heritage with EcoTank printers still applies here. So for example, you can still print to this remotely. So the printer itself has an email address. You can email a document over to that address, and then it will print remotely to this. Same thing if you're using Apple's AirPrint, if you're using Google Cloud Print, you can do that too. If you're scanning documents, those documents can then be saved to Dropbox, Box, OneDrive, Google Drive. I mean, the main cloud services that you're probably using. So for that, all those reasons, I say if you're using this at home, so let's say you have students, you have kids that are students and they need to print a lot, or you have a home-based business, or you need something in an office, and you're willing to not go with a laser printer, this is probably a pretty good alternative, because just the sheer fact that the ink is going to last a long time. Now, I do want to sort of preface what I'm saying here, or at least balance it out a little bit by talking about the print quality, because I think that really matters as well. So when it comes to printing in the standard mode or in the high quality mode, it's excellent. So if you're looking at black text on a white paper, it's going to look great on those modes. The draft mode is okay if it's a paper that you don't really care too much about. You're printing it more for expediency. It's fine, but it's not particularly great. Now with photos, I would really hesitate to call this a photo printer or a photocentric printer. I don't know that it has that distinction. Main reason being that although prints will look pretty good, the quality of the prints, I think, will vary significantly, and it also depends on size. So for example, when I printed out some 8x10s on this, they turned out okay, but when I looked at them in closer inspection, the pixels were more obvious. There were a few blotches here and there. Anything dark, especially if it was black, so especially anything black, like a dark sky, turned out a little more gray. It just wasn't it didn't have the kind of detail that I would want in a photo printer. Now there are printers that, of course, that are dedicated to printing out photos, so if that's your main motivation, then look for those. But if you're looking for something that can print mostly documents and the odd photo, you'll do fine here. Just recognize that the photos that come out will be okay, they'll be good, but they won't be amazing. If you do print in smaller sizes like 4x6s or 5x7s, you should be fine. Those kind of mask a little bit of the limitations of what I'm talking about, but the bigger you go, the more obvious it is. One thing I should note about the setup is that it does take a while. So when you're first setting this up to print, it does take about 45 minutes. I'm talking about from the unboxing all the way to the point where you're ready to actually print something that you want to print. That is somewhat standard, I think, for Epson's EcoTank printers. There is a bit of a process to get there. It involves also downloading and installing software for either a Mac or Windows PC, and the drivers and all that stuff, just so that the computer can see it wirelessly. You can plug in through Ethernet or USB if you like as well. But either way, you're still going to go through a bit of a process to set this up. But it's all right. I mean, it's pretty painless, and I highly recommend that you also look at the full manual online. What you get in the box is a quick start guide that will get you up and running, but when it comes to all the integrated features that I've been referring to, like the cloud printing and all that stuff, that is on the main manual that is available for download online. So other than that, all I can say is that you're in the need for a volume printer. You don't want to think about replacing the ink for a long time. This is one of the printers that will deliver that for you. And I think the additional features of being able to print remotely and to save documents to the cloud through the scanner, all those ancillary things I think are really cool. And so if you're looking for not just a printer and a scanner, but somewhat of a workstation that can make you move documents around and output them for you, this is a pretty good bet. And that's it for my review of the Epson EcoTank ET-3710 for Best Buy plugin. I'm Teddy K. Thanks for watching.